Hi, my name is Justin LaRoche, and this is how to make your instrumentals sound like Travis Scott. Now, the software that I'm going to be working out of is FL Studio 20. You can use whatever version of FL Studio you want, or whatever DAW you want, really. They all work. So I'm really going to explain to you the thought process and how you would go about picking the sounds to replicate Travis Scott, because sound selection is really what makes it sound different from other ones, and the way you edit those sounds. So what you want to focus on when you are trying to sound like Travis Scott when you're making it is the sound selection. So what we're going to start out with is a pad from Splice. This pad, you can really use any pad that sounds like it. There's a bunch. Just something really like dreamy, and I would say like ethereal is the word. Sounds like this. So those pretty much just how they came. I threw a little bit of EQ and stereo widener, but it doesn't change much. The next thing that I went with after you find your really pretty top is a really fat synth bass. You can use any synth bass. There's a bunch of plugins. I'm using the 3X Oscillator Synth Bass 5. It's a free FL Studio plugin. So after you bring those pads in to start out the song, throw in the synth bass, kind of like build tension. And then right after that is when you're going to want to drop the song. So I'm going to play the song starting with the synth bass, and you're going to hear it go all the way up past the drop, and then I will explain to you how I did all that. So the first thing you're going to notice about the drop are the 808s, this thing right here. Now I have these just playing the same notes as the synth bass. I just changed them around a little bit so that it has a little bit more rhythm and it moves better. For your 808, when you're making this type of stuff, because you already have your synth bass, which is really low, you're going to want to find a more dry kind of 808, and you're going to sidechain that with your kick. That way, every time the kick hits, your 808 ducks. That way your 808 is coming out every once in a while and just kind of making more room for the synth bass to still be there, because they're both really low sounds and you don't want those clashing. Now for the kick drum, this thing right here. Now for my kick, whatever kick I am using and whatever bass I'm using, whether it's the 808 or the synth bass, I always sidechain my kick to one of them, because it really allows the kick to hit harder, and it is something that Mike Dean does, Travis Scott's producer, in his instrumentals, and it really does affect the sound a lot. Now for kicks in Travis Scott songs, they're always going to be very dry and distorted, always going to be sidechained like I said before. However, sidechaining is very important, and I think it should always be done in any song. Next, for the snare, this thing, and the claps, I have multiple snares that are playing at the exact same time when you hear that. The best way that I would say to do your snares, I'm just bringing them in and out. Sometimes I'll use one, sometimes I'll use three, and that kind of just adds dynamic to the snare beat and really just allows the song to kind of be more interesting, is how I would put it. And it is something that Travis Scott's producer Mike Dean also does a lot, and it's something very basic, but I think it really does matter that you use multiple snares. Now here's the drop, but just those drums by themselves, so you can hear what I'm saying, because with Travis Scott drums, you really want them to do what's called knocking, which is basically just means that they're really loud and punchy and have a lot of attack. So here's that. Now, the last thing that I added to this song were the crashes, sweeps, and reverb tails. These are going to appear at the beginning, and they're the sweeps that come up right before it hits. I have multiple of these just coming in and out, just kind of building up and letting it come back down, just to really like give it, just to it's a really bouncy track, and it's a really bouncy feeling you want to go for with Travis Scott. So all of these little extra sounds that aren't even really instruments, or like the layering of the instruments and bringing them in and out, this is what's going to really give you that sound. Now if you take this and you use these tools, I guess, in your beats, then you'll for sure be able to replicate his sound. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day. Here's the beat all the way through from the beginning.